Hey folks, producer Jim here from the Around the House radio show, America's #1 home improvement powerhouse. I've seen Eric test thousands of gadgets over his 30-plus years as a certified kitchen designer, and he's just dropped his hand-curated top 10 picks for 2026 that'll make your home smarter, safer, and way more efficient. Rush to AroundTheHouseOnline.com, top products, now. Click the bold names for Amazon deals and snag them before they're gone. Eric G's favorites for 2026. Your house deserves this upgrade.
When it comes to remodeling and renovating your home, there is no better show on your radio. This is Around the House with Eric G.
Everybody stop what you're doing, please!
From your back fence to the sidewalk, Eric will tell you how to keep it all in tip-top shape while helping you save a buck while doing it. If you like DIY projects, it takes a lot of practice to get good at it, and Eric is here to guide the way.
These are the wrong plans. These are the old plans. Oh.
All that and more on the fastest 2 hours of home improvement radio.
Stop it! Stop what you're doing!
Welcome to Around the House with Eric G.
Welcome to Around the House with Eric G. This is the midweek special. This is where we talk about the stuff that didn't make it into last week's show and quite frankly is not going to make it into this week's show. And I wanted to give you guys kind of an early update here of what's going on this week. And I think I might see a light at the end of the tunnel. And quite frankly, it's not the train. Here's what I'm looking at. I've been watching the lumber futures and the lumber cash price, futures cash price out there to see kind of what our wood industry is doing out there for framing lumber. This is all softwood lumber, basically. And this is not financial advice, and I am not a financial person, so don't mistake that. There's my little, side mark for that. But taking a peek at how it's going to affect our lumber prices. Now, when I start looking out into the future, which is what this does, I am seeing in the last week some drastic drops in lumber prices. So that means coming into July, August, September, we might start seeing some lower prices, which we all love. Great example, basically last time I checked here, the high point that I saw this last week was on lumber futures was it was about $1,733. And that's per 1,000 board feet, I believe. Now, here's the thing. We're down into the 1,200. So we're seeing a big, big drop. Now, it's all over the place, depending on when you record this stuff. It can jump all over the board. But when you start looking at kind of where things have been in the last month, we're really making a huge dive back down, which I love. I want to see that keep going down. Now we're going to jump, I think, here between the $1,200-1,300 market here for a little bit, but it could drop down into the 900s again. It could get down into where we were in the last year, our low point in the last year. I mean, that's huge if you look at that. We used to be down in the $346. Now we're at almost $2,000. Now we're dropping back down in the $1,200 range. So what's that mean? I think that means that we're going to see some market stabilizing in lumber where maybe July, August into September, we're going to see lumber prices jumping back down. So I think those, great example, if I go into Home Depot this week, last time I looked, which was in the last day or so, it was $64 for a sheet of 7/16 OSB. Now, I'm not a big fan of that product. I like using plywood. Plywood's even worse. Now, that 7/16 OSB is out there, a year ago, that was $9 a sheet. Now it's $64. So you can see how that's affecting people's projects out there. I know a ton of people that have held off on additions, that are holding off on remodeling. I'm holding off doing a fence for right now. I've got a front fence I want to build. I'm going to hold off on that for a bit. A lot of people are holding off on project out there because, well, they can't afford that to be 4 times what they expected it to be a year ago. And that's going to be a big problem for people. So you're going to see a lot of those summertime projects, that money being spent on something else because, quite frankly, people just don't want to spend that money on lumber that a year from now is going to be back down, probably back in that normal price range. You know, it might not go all the way down, but I think it's going to go pretty close to that. That's important. You know, that's really important. So as we watch lumber prices continuing to lower, I'm happy about that. And that's going to put builders back in the right place. That's going to put housing prices probably for a new house is going to help that a little bit. You know, we still have a big housing shortage out there. More people wanting to buy homes, more people wanting to do that, and keep moving on up. But here's the thing that I'm worried about. I'm worried about our lack of inventory out there in our housing market because there's just a battle out there, and so many people aren't prepared financially to fight that battle. If you want to put a house offer in these days, you know, the only way you have a good chance of getting that in many locations across the U.S. is you better have some cash. How many people have that? Not that many. So all of you that are trying to upgrade your home, that are going to sell your home, I think we might see some flattening out and some of this craziness kind of get back to normal a little bit. Back to normal being positive, I don't think we're going to have a huge crash coming. But this bubble has to burst on the lumber side of things here. Otherwise, it's going to really carry itself down through the trades. You're going to see contractors not doing as much work. You're going to see contractors stopping building houses. And then housing is going to get even more and more expensive because there's just going to be a price battle for those. So we're going to have to fix this lumber pricing and get people back working in the trades. I know of just about every single company that is a contractor that I work with out there that is trying to hire people, and those people out there don't exist. They are not in the job hunt right now. And it doesn't matter if you're a heating and cooling technician, if you're an electrician, maybe you're somebody that wants to get into construction, you want to start out, and you're going to be a crawl space technician working for like Bloom Pest Control, one of my advertisers in the Portland area. Doesn't matter. Those people, they're hard to find. Trying to find roofers, hard to find. So there's a huge problem out there of not having enough people to work. We're seeing it in the news today, and we're going to have to do something, especially with the trades. We just got to get some more kids into that program because we're losing more and more here to retirement. And, people living the hard life of working construction their entire life. And by the time they get to retirement, they can't do it anymore. And we don't want to see that happening. But everyone in this game ages out at some point, and we're losing them faster than we're gaining them. So we got to get back onto the trades again. So what can you do about it? Thanks for listening to Around the House here, but what you can do locally in your area is make sure that your schools teaching the trades. Do they have a construction class? Do they have woodworking in the school? Do the high schools have that? There's some great high school trade programs. I wouldn't be doing radio today without our trade program that I had in Kennewick, Washington, where we had radio TV production. I did that in high school, and it was a passion of mine, and I know so many people out there that took those high school classes that are very successful in their careers in that trade that they learned. Is your school teaching that? Or have they had, like in the city that I live in, have they taken those things out and put in computer labs and didn't build on and took out the welding, automotive, and woodworking and construction stuff? So really take a look and see what your school is offering. Make sure that they're putting the same pressure on kids to figure out what they want to do in life, that they're putting, there's college. There should be college and trade on an equal basis because we need all of those. Well, I'm not ready to announce it yet because, quite frankly, we haven't got it recorded yet. But as soon as we do, I'm going to make a big announcement on our show guest this weekend. I don't want to jinx it by talking about it yet, but we've got a great one coming up, and we'll talk about that maybe later today. I'll tease it out on social media here on Around the House with Eric G. Make sure you catch us over there. Be part of our tribe over there on Around the House with Eric G on Facebook, and, of course, our closed group, which is Around the House Nation. If you like DIY projects, if you liked construction, design, all that stuff, join Around the House Nation over there, because that's where we all trade around great information, funny stuff, projects we're working on. What are you working on today? That's where you can put it up over there. Now, if you need help, make sure you contact us over at aroundthehouseonline.com. If you've got a home improvement question, we'd love to answer it for you. You know, this show is not just your typical call-in home improvement show on the weekends when we do radio and, of course, the major podcast, because, well, we want to help you with detailed information. So that's why a lot of our podcasts and radio shows are not just callers that call in. Now, if you want to call us, you sure can, and that information's over on the website. But really, we don't answer 22 plumbing toilet questions in one episode here. We really want to dive into bigger projects to help you get from point A to point B and answer those questions so you're better off on that project. Because if you're better off, you're going to have more information so you can do it right. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about this weekend a little bit on the show. One of the topics I want to dive into is finding contractors. How do you find them? Where do you look? Where do you find them? Where do you not find them? And what are the warning signs out there? Because I have seen all sorts of contractors out there, or people pretending to be contractors, and that can be a little ugly, because all of a sudden you've given money to somebody that doesn't deserve that money, and guess what? You're in a world of hurt because they have ran off with your cash and you don't have a project that's anywhere near completed. And you know, there might have been some warning signs that told you this was going to go sideways. So we'll talk about that this weekend. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the week. Thanks for listening Around the House, and make sure you catch us on Thursday for our Pro Insider for all of you out there in the construction and design industry. Thanks for listening to Around the House.
Around the House with Eric G. is produced by, designed by Eric G. in association with Salem Media, and distributed nationally by the Sun Broadcast Group. All rights reserved. Copyright 2020, designed by Eric G. We will be back next week. If you missed part of the show, check out the podcast of all of our shows at aroundthehouseonline.com. Remember, measure with a micrometer, mark with caulk, and cut with an axe. Thanks for listening to Around the House.
Hey folks, Jim here, producer of Around the House Show. You're loving the audio tips right now, but here's something new. Our full-length episodes and expert interviews are now on YouTube as video, so you can watch the demos, tool close-ups, and guest interviews, or just hit play and listen like a regular podcast. Just search Around the House Show on YouTube, hit that red subscribe button, and turn on notifications. It's free, and you'll get the best of both worlds. Visual how-tos when you want them, audio when you're on the go. Don't forget to subscribe on your podcast app too. Thanks. And now back to the show.